Now, to start our program, please welcome one of our esteemed FILSCAP trustees, the talented songwriter behind hits like Now That I Have You, Shine, Tell the World of His Love, and You've Made Me Stronger. Please welcome Miss Trina.
Hello, everybody! Okay, so, kumain na ba kayo lahat? Nag-lunch na kayo? Okay. You are ready for an afternoon of a lot of information. Ready na ba kayo? Yes, so welcome to FILSCAP Masterclass. This is the second time we're doing this. The first time we did this was last year. We had Jimmy Borja, who was also from the US, Pinoy na based din sa US. And this year we're very lucky to also have another US-based Filipino to give us this talk, no? Pero bago ko siya ipakilala briefly, I just want to acknowledge, and actually parang gawin na rin namin photo op ng mga trustees. No? We have a number of FILSCAP trustees who are here with us today, ang aking mga fellow trustees. Tawagin ko lang para magpo-photo op muna tayo para let's get that out of the way, no? This is in not, I don't know what order this is, no? Huwag na natin i-booking ang mga ano. So let's start with President. Ayan. Arturo Nonoy Tan. Arturo Louis Pio Nonoy Tan. Please please come over here. Sabi yung pinakagwapo. Ay, pero hindi papayag yung iba. Tito Kayamanda, our VP. Kelly Sanchez, our CORSEC. Marivic Benedicto, our Assistant CORSEC. Alvin De Vera, our Treasurer. Ang ating ingat yaman. Ako, importante yan. Rachel Dasilio, Assistant Treasurer. Mark Escueta, Trustee. Rockstar. Rockstar, yan. Mike Villegas, another rockstar. And yours truly. So mag-ano tayo, let's just have a picture. Come close para ayan. Meron tayong official photographer. Kasya ba kami? Ayan. All right. There, over there. Sama natin si Thursday. Where's Thursday?
Thursday,
Our GM, he's our general manager.
Yan ang punong yaman. Doon, tingin ka. Doon. Ano ba yung official yun? Doon. Okay.
All right, thank you very much, trustees, fellow trustees. Yes. All right, okay. Okay, guys, some reminders lang before we start. Let's put our phones on silent mode. And you may take photos, but please do not take video. We will make this, we're documenting this talk and i-upload naman po natin sa FILSCAP YouTube. So kung gusto nyo panoorin later on, sa YouTube na lang. Tama ba Thursday? Okay, tama no? So, kung gusto nyo mag-take ng mga photos, please do. And you can actually even, if you're using your social media accounts, you can upload them. Nilagay ba natin? Ayan, may mga hashtags tayo. Yan, hashtag FILSCAP Masterclass, hashtag Jett Galindo for FILSCAP, hashtag Women in the Mix, and hashtag I Value Music. Dami, no? So, yan. So, kung gusto nyo take na pictures, that's okay. But the videos, wag po sana. Yeah. So, I think we are ready. We're done with the house rules. So, ang ating, syempre para tama yung ating introduction. So, I'll keep the intro short because magkikwentuhan naman tayo ni na Jett. Malalaman mo din kung nyo din lahat ng journey. She is a mastering engineer. She's also a vinyl cutting engineer. Oh, alam niyo ba kung ano yon? Vinyl cutting. And she is governor of the Recording Academy LA chapter. So we'll We'll find out more about that later on. So let's all say hello. Palakpakan po natin si Jett Galindo.
Thank you po. Thanks, Trina.
Yes. So
And-
happy to have you.
So happy to be here. Maraming salamat FILSCAP for inviting me. And I think this is, I think, the first official presentation I've done here in the Philippines where I talk about not just the engineering side, pero more about like sharing knowledge from the US to here in the Philippines with the hopes na we get more opportunities for collaboration between Philippines and worldwide.
Oo, ang dami namin binabalak na ni Jett. Kasi Jett and I have a lot of private conversations. And sabi ko, pag nag-chat kami, ang dami namin napapag-usapan na parang, dapat malaman to ng mga Pilipino, ng maraming tao. So sabi na, let's do this talk. And so I think for starters, we'll start with your journey para mas makilala ka rin nila. Paano ka nakarating dito? Paano ka nakarating sa pagiging mastering engineer, etc. So, kwento mo sa amin, Jett.
Yes. Just making sure we have the slide ready. Naghanda po ako ng presentation para sa inyo. May
Yes.
effort po ito.
Oo. Alam niyo si Jett, kung isa-search niyo siya sa YouTube, she does all these talks in the US. So talagang, you've done talks for Avid, di ba? Mga ganyan. So parang, bongga naman itong kaibigan kong ito.
Okay. I guess we can start the slide if we can. Pero the fact na lahat po tayo nandito ngayon, we weren't expecting this much people. And just to see all of you come in, just to be part of the conversation, ibig sabihin na talaga na merong need. Parang lahat tayo, we're thirsty for information.
You want to do a quick, parang let's see what the audience is made up of, no? How many, taas lang, walang wrong answer dito ha. Huwag kayong mag-alala. Like how many here are, okay, let's start with songwriters. Songwriters. Nice. Okay. All right. How many are arrangers, musicians? All right. How many of you are like studio people, recording engineers, behind the scenes people? Yeah? How many are record label people? Labels. Right.
How many are students? Okay.
Dami din.
Oo. So just making sure na covered natin lahat ng bases. Pero we will have time later for a good amount of question and answer.
Yes, we'll have at least an hour of Q&A. Mamaya, mag-station tayo ng 2 microphones dyan. So just walk up to the mic and ask your questions. Ha? Huwag kayo mahihiya kasi samantalahin na natin tong pagkakataon na to na nandito si Jett.
Okay. So let's start the slideshow. Okay. Yes. Okay, next. Okay, let's stay with this slide first. Bale, ito ang magiging agenda natin for today's presentation. You'll see, it's in a few parts, pero I want to make sure na ang focus natin is sharing information. So, of course, we start with my career journey. I'll keep it short, but it's really an information, especially for those who are still students, kung paano ako umabot from Pinas to working in the Recording Academy sa LA. And then we talk about just a really brief overview on the standards and practices in the music industry when it comes to music production, recording, mixing, mastering. Kung meron kayong tanong tungkol sa vinyl, this is a great time to ask kasi yun din ang specialty ko. And then one thing I'm really excited to talk about is Filipino diaspora.
Ano niya, keep your questions in mind as Jett goes along, para hindi niyo makalimutan, and then pag Q&A, tanong na tayo. Okay.
So going back, ang next na topic natin is yung Filipino diaspora and the global music scene. Kasi I think tayo mga Pinoy, we're at a very rare position where talagang global talaga tayo. Hindi lang tayo dito sa Pinas. Lagi tating pinag-uusapan sila Olivia Rodrigo, sila Bruno Mars. But it's not just the artists who are Pinoys. There are many big players who are Filipinos all over the world. And I'm excited to talk more about that later. Tapos, ang last na i-discuss po natin is something that I'm most excited about is Recording Academy and Pinoy representation because there should be more music artists in the Grammy ballot besides SB19, that was a great news back then. Pero there should be more. Okay. So let's start with next slide, ang aking career journey. So officially nagsimula ako sa aking career as music engineer noong 2005 na nag-graduate ako sa Ateneo de Manila University with a degree in psychology, not music. Let's go to the next slide. So, from psychology, paano ako napunta dito? So, my mom is here, Jett Galindo, Tita Josie.
Tita Josie.
Totally unrelated from my path, yung mga magulang ko, they manage AGs, the band AGs. And them being musicians, they asked me to not pursue music.
Not surprising. Huwag po kayo mag-alala kasi ganun din yung parents ko.
The usual. And of course, dahil tayong mga passionate sa music, I fulfilled my promise to pursue psychology nung college, pero it didn't stop me from pursuing music. And ang rule nila, mami, basta mag-graduate ka lang, ano namang gusto mong gawin pagkatapos, bahala ka na. So, when I was in college, I was part of the Ateneo College Glee Club, and we were both from...
Yeah, we were both from the Glee Club, pero younger batch siya.
Pero from there, from touring with Ateneo Glee Club, doon ko nalaman na may career path na audio engineering. And I've always loved music, but I've never identified as a songwriter, hindi ako producer. Pero alam ko na passion ko talaga music, and mahilig akong mag-tinker ng gear, mahilig ako sa technology. And when I discovered na may career path na audio engineering, talagang laser focus na ako from there. And I'm grateful na meron akong mga parents who understood that big dream and just supported me as much as they could. So, thank you, Nay Tay.
Ang laking bagay ng support ng parents, ha? Sa totoo lang.
Oo.
So, sa lahat ng mga parents na supportive sa mga anak-anak niya.
So, from there, dahil wala akong experience sa audio engineering, I just knew na I had to study abroad para mag-aral ng sound engineering. Kasi nung kapanahunan ko, wala pang ganun ka-access sa audio engineering programs around Quezon City area. So at that point, did my research, and I knew I wanted to pursue siguro Berklee College of Music. But as you can see, I wanted to prepare myself first. So naghanap ako ng opportunity to be surrounded by, sorry, parang nag-feedback tayo.
Oo nga.
Parang it's too loud.
Kasi nga, kulang na tayo ng mga pag-aaral.
Okay lang.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or we need to bring down the volume.
I think that's better. Salamat. I just wanted to kung wala mang audio engineering program dito sa Pinas, I still wanted to be immersed in technology, in music, kahit anumang paraan. So, my first foot in the door sa Ateneo, merong media communications service na nagtuturo ng graphics design, film editing, mga lahat ng hilig ko, nagtuturo nun sa mga pare at madre. And I just wanted to be surrounded by technology, so that's what I did. I worked in Ateneo teaching graphics design film to priests and nuns. And it just so happened that the director of Jesuit Communications Technology told me, kung gusto mo palang mag-aral ng sound, meron kaming recording studio dito na nagre-record kami ng Bukas Palad, Hangad.
This was around what year, Jett?
This was around 2005. And ayun, nagkataon talaga na naghahanap sila ng intern. So I was very fortunate enough na nakapag-train ako dito sa Pinas through my mentor, si Robbie Grande. So he was the one who really helped give me that mindset to be ready for this path. So for 4 years, andito ako sa Jesuit Communications Technology Studio. I worked for 4 years bilang intern hanggang sa house engineer by the 4th year. Nandiyan si Noel Cabangon on the top left. Ang very first project ko was with UP Singing Ambassadors.
You were doing everything, recording,
Yes,
mixing.
and I think that's what helped me prepare because I was taught how to properly record, mix, even master. Parang I learned how to properly master with Wavelab. So talagang by the time na ready na akong pumuntang US para mag-aral, I had that understanding na. So next slide. So by the time 2009 came, yun, I was ready for Berklee College of Music. So this was 3 years. 3 years lang kasi nag-aral na ako tuwing summer vacation kasi mas tipid. Mahal ang US. So dito, you can see when you're in Berklee College of Music, any music school, you are surrounded by fellow musicians or fellow people who are passionate about this world. And that's one thing that really stuck to me. An advice that I would give for any students that want to pursue this path is do not look up, look around you. Kasi you'd be surprised that the people you're in school with are gonna be growing the same time as you. You'll be in your own path, doing your own thing. They're all gonna be growing at the same time then. And you'd be surprised that by the time you're succeeding, they're succeeding in their own level as well. And you are gonna be benefiting from that connection. In fact, even to this day, ang lahat ng marami akong mga contacts sa LA, many of them are Grammy-winning engineers, producers. My good friend who I was training back in Berkeley was the score mixer of the Grammy-winning Disney movie Encanto. And we're still friends to this day. Ang Grammy-winning engineer of her and John Batiste, her name's Jackie Boom Sanchez. I was her classmate in Boston, in Berkeley, and now she's won her own Grammy, and she actually even mixed KZ Tandingan's latest album. Latest record.
So yun yung value ng when you are studying, it's not just the subjects and the teachings, it's the community.
100%.
Which we always also tell our campers and it's so ang swerte nga nung mga students ngayon that there's Benil, there's Mint, yung mga friendships that you are forming now. Matagal pa yan up to hanggang tumanda kayo.
Exactly.
Even us with the Glee Club.
I was gonna say, parang ito, si Trina, we've sung together before we even realized na we could work together.
Yeah, I actually forgot that you were in this business. But yeah, because like Moy Ortiz, who is the musical director of the company, I met through the Glee Club. My friends from the Glee Club and ACS are still my friends up to now. So build your communities. It's very important.
100%. So, yeah, my hope is that my connections all through these years are something that I could bring back to helping our community, like just keep growing. So it's all 360. So next slide. So after that, my first gig after I graduated wasn't Avatar Studios in New York. In fact, I actually had a job waiting for me bago ako nag-graduate. One thing I didn't mention sa previous slide, if you'll see, sorry, if we can go back to the previous slide, one thing that set me apart from the other engineers in that school was I specialized in classical music. And when other engineering students had bedroom studios, I had a mobile recording rig. So I would bring my rig to Harvard auditoriums, MIT. I'm the go-to person for recording choirs and orchestra, and that led me to getting a gig to work at the Aspen Music Festival after graduating. So next slide. But the time when it started for me when I was about to fly to Aspen for my job, I found out that my international work authorization permit, dahil isa akong international student, hindi dumating. So they dropped me. So I couldn't do my job. And ang reality, so kung may tanong kayo about studying abroad, we can cover that later. Pero pag graduate mo, you have 1 year para magtrabaho sa field mo. And after 1 year, you have 2 choices. Either go back to your home country or find a way to get a legal work visa after. So dahil dinarap ako sa work ko sa Aspen Music Festival, I had 3 months open. So a quarter of my my year is suddenly open. Walang job na nakaantay. So, ayun, parang back to kailangan resourceful. Think on your feet. I reached out to the audio engineering program sa Berkeley asking for help. Just because I worked a lot in school, they helped me connect with the head of Avatar Studios in New York. Just gave me the email, so I sent my resume. Didn't hear back from them. Waited 2 weeks. Here's my resume. I heard from them finally. So talagang tiyaga lang and
Wow.
really thinking on your feet. Parang you have to learn how to pivot if one thing doesn't work out. So, ayun,
So naging mas kapansin-pansin ka ba because of you were recording on classical yung
yeah,
concentration
parang it
mo?
stood out, pero at the same time din kasi, I knew nung nasa school ako na I had very little time. And this is the time for me to keep building my portfolio. So I volunteered everywhere.
Volunteering is
Yeah.
also another very important thing.
Nung college, I knew that besides a diploma is great, pero your body of work is just as important. And you're in school, you're surrounded by amazing musicians, so I never took that for granted. I would record from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., and I would also volunteer for the recording classes.
Right, because even as a student, you can already start building your body of work.
That's what you need to do. While you're still in school, build your body of work, because especially sa music industry, more than the diploma, it's your body of work and your connections that will get you ahead. Connections doesn't need to be a bad word. Because like connections in a way just reassures you that you know this person is good at what they do. So take advantage of that. And yeah, that's how I managed to at least thankfully get back on my feet. Interned here in Avatar Studios for 3 months unpaid. It's thankfully different now, pero 3 months ng full.
Okay lang yan, no? Yung
Oo.
unpaid kasi yung experience na makukuha mo.
True. But especially in the US, unpaid internships can be exploited a lot. So, binago na yan.
Okay.
Pero for me, thankfully, it was really something I valued and I appreciated. And I thought that I was going to be there in New York for good kasi pili ko talaga New York versus LA. And thankfully, I got hired in Avatar Studios as the engineer of producer Jerry Barnes. He's producer and bassist of Nile Rodgers and Chic. So I've worked a lot with Nile Rodgers at that time, Roberta Flack, that genre. And I thought that's going to be my future. And actually, after it's almost reaching my 1 year of working in the US at that time. So I had all my paperwork set. Jerry Barnes was going to be my petitioner for my O1 visa. You guys might want to look into O1 rather than H1. If you have a question later, don't hesitate to ask.
Sige, pag-usapan natin yan
Oo,
mamaya. May mga
O1
magtatanong.
literally means alien of extraordinary abilities. So it's a legal term.
Yes.
But anyway, next slide. Things changed. Again, it's almost 1 year of me working in New York, and I thought I was going to work in New York for good. Until I got an email from the mastering professor in Berklee College of Music, kung saan ako nag-graduate. Tinanong niya sa akin, Jett, gusto mo ba ng job opportunity na parang Facebook messenger lang to. Jett, merong once in a lifetime job opportunity. Gusto mo bang kunin? And hindi niya sinabi sa akin kung ano. Pero I just, if your professor asks you and lists it as that, you know that it's serious. It's
And the fact na ikaw yung kinontak niya.
Oo. And I said yes. I want to know more. Let's make this happen. 1 month left in my, 1 month before I have to head home.
Oh my God.
Yeah, pero
Tense.
this is the job. It's to be the mastering assistant of Doug Sachs of the Mastering Lab. So yung Mastering Lab, they're the very first independent mastering facility that opened in 1967. Ang engineer was Doug Sachs, and siya yung naging mentor ko until he passed away. But he's known for mastering all the Pink Floyd records, Carpenters, Eagles, Ray Charles, Steely Dan. So
He
it
the
was
man.
yeah. So I knew I had to. It was a calculated risk. Decided to throw away all the paperwork for the first
gosh,
one,
wow.
for the first O1 visa, and then I decided to start all over again with this new application. So
Wow.
talagang ano
You
risk.
felt it was calling to you kasi
Yeah.
siya eh.
Oo. And the fact na si Doug, he's been through this process before, he understood. And we're both taking a chance on this.
Right.
So, ayun, it worked out. I packed my bags and worked in the mastering lab. That's where I learned how to properly master fully analog and also cut vinyl. So, yung vinyl cutting, it's not something you can learn in schools. But for anyone who's interested in learning about vinyl and anyone who wants to work in the world of vinyl, pwede kang mag-run ng record store. There's actually a popular vinyl record store here that helps with vinyl distribution. I recommend looking them up. Backspacer Records. So they're really good. They're based here sa Pinas. Pero another resource I recommend is womeninvinyl.com. And they have a jobs board and profiles on all the people who work in the vinyl record industry. Pero the vinyl format is alive and thriving.
Vinyl is not just making comeback. It's here.
It's
no?
here.
Meron.
It's never parang the talk of. I'm sorry. It never went away. And 10 years ago, they keep talking about vinyl resurgence.
And I think now, lalo na with AI coming up, there's the physical format is
it's more
probably gonna
important.
come back, no? Kasi
Yeah, and in fact, so my latest vinyl work is cutting the Billie Eilish, "Hit Me Hard and Soft" LP. That we cut that. Everyone had to sign NDAs. Even the pressing plant had to sign NDAs. And officially today, it just came out at DragCon sa LA. Pero I also cut the vinyl for RuPaul's quadruple LP album of all his
what
classics.
does it mean when you cut the vinyl?
Oh, we can.
But later pa yan.
Actually,
Or-
I can talk about it now since it's not on these slides. Pero cutting vinyl is literally cutting the music into the physical vinyl master. Like the vinyl master doesn't start. You can see here. Ito, at the very bottom. That's a vinyl master, and it's not the same material as your LP. It starts out as a different material, metal acetate.
Okay.
So it's a metal with nitrocellulose coated lacquer. So yes, may mga vinyl people
May mga
tayo dito.
vinyl enthusiasts.
Yeah, pero if you don't have access to a vinyl cutting facility, you can deliver digital cutting masters. Well, it's your digital masters, pero just optimized for the vinyl format. And I've written articles about that. I will try
Right,
to
it's very
share it
technical, I know.
later. Pero kung may mga tanong kayo for the engineers, for the songwriters who want to release your music on vinyl,
vinyl, yeah.
you can. Don't be intimidated. Happy to answer any questions about that. But yes,
Interesting.
so
you cut
next
it.
slide. And this is where I am now. Since 2015, I've been working at the bakery as one of the head mastering engineers. Sorry, my family is laughing.
Why?
I know,
May
right?
ano.
Pero they've been my family since 2015. It's almost our 10-year anniversary, and this is the same team from the mastering lab. And nung namatay, when Doug Sachs passed away, we decided to form the bakery, and we moved to LA. And our studio is now on the Sony Pictures lot. And yeah, this is where, this is the team that cut Billie Eilish and Green Day, La La Land, Star Trek, Blade Runner.
Very
So,
impressive.
And Ang Larawan. We also cut the masters for the Ang Larawan
Larawan,
soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
May Pinoy clientele ka na rin.
yes. And I don't cut physical vinyl, but I have done digital cutting masters for a lot of Filipino projects like Lola Amor. The full Lola Amor sound album, I mastered it, and I also mastered the digital cutting master for vinyl. So yeah, it's been the busiest I've ever been, and grateful that at this point I've also become active in the Recording Academy. So I now co-chair the producers and engineers wing of the Recording Academy, and I'm also the governor. And we're gonna talk about it more later, pero mas may push sa Recording Academy to make sure na ang voting body nila, ang community ng Recording Academy is more representative ng audience. And that means inviting more Asians, more Pinoy community to get involved. So we'll
Right,
talk more
kasi
about that.
malaking market ng Pinoy, di ba?
Exactly. And
Sobra.
talagang si Olivia Rodrigo, parang makita lang na quarter Pinoy. Pinoy pride.
Tsaka yung iba nga, talagang tina-target na nila ang Pinoy audience kasi ang laki ng Pinoy audience.
Filipino.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Sige.
Next slide. Okay, so we're gonna go through this a bit. It looks like we have a lot of songwriters, engineers, and this is a short. We don't have a lot of time to go through all the stages of the music production process. Pero I'm gonna go through a couple of things that are not often discussed, but I'm sure is relatable to everyone. So let's start with recording. So I'm sure a lot of you know what recording is. So let me use a food analogy, for example.
We like food.
Yes. Tayong mga Pinoy, we love food. Recording is like gathering the ingredients of your dish. So let's start with that, and then we'll go to mixing later. Let's go to the next slide, please. So when you talk about recording, there are many ways to do it. Do not feel na dahil wala kang access sa recording studio, hindi ka na makapag-record. And me and the trustees of FILSCAP were talking about, like, during the pandemic, everyone had to learn how to record themselves, right? So parang doon talaga na-challenge ang recording chops ng lahat ng mga musikero. And I'm glad that...
Pati non-musicians.
Exactly.
Mas marunong pa sila mag-record.
Oh my
Di ba? Yung
gosh.
mga nagtitiktok, whatever.
Oo, at saka yung mga virtual choirs and orchestras.
I'm embarrassed to say that I only got my mic during the pandemic.
You
Professional
see,
me,
parang feeling ko nga that really pushed the production world for the better. That's at least one silver lining. Pero especially with that in mind, do not feel na kailangan mo na access sa top commercial recording studio to get your music done, because as Billie Eilish has proven, bedroom recorded music can win awards as well. So next slide. But I'm gonna go through a couple of examples of how recording sessions are done. So going back to commercial recording studios, what you're looking at right now is Avatar Studios, now known as Power Station in New York. And this is your typical recording session for like a full band session. And there are studios also here in the Philippines that can handle like a full band session. So this is type of a situation where the full band has a tracking session. Every instrumentalist are in their separated booths para isolated ang individual tracks, but everyone still gets to perform at the same time. So parang dahil lahat kayo, you perform at the same time, parang nandun pa rin yung natural...
you feed off each other's
Yeah, you feed off each
rhythm.
other's energy, the rhythm. You're not... you might be relying on a click track, but sometimes you really just want to feel the groove that comes naturally from playing together. Tsaka interesting kasi yung tracking session then for a full band, it changes pag may separate rooms and everyone wears headphones versus lahat kayo is in just one room and you're just like jamming off, facing each other. And there's no right or wrong. It really depends on the production choice that you're aiming for. Minsan it serves the music better pag lahat kayo in the same live room and just jamming together at the same time, no headphones. And sometimes a recording session like this works better kasi it's easier during the mixing process and overdubs. I'm not sure if everyone knows what overdubs mean, but it's like after you've tracked your first like tracking session, then you do additional recordings.
Patong or-
Oo, patong lang. So you do doubles on the vocals. Sometimes it's like additional layers of guitars. So yeah, but it starts with a tracking session like this. So next slide. And here's another example, a different kind of recording session. And this is a picture sent by my good friend Jackie Boom, who's the engineer of Her. And this is actually the tracking session for Her. And you can see here, it's chaotic. And it's meant to be like that kasi this style of recording is them recording and writing and producing at the same time.
Wow.
And you don't see Jackie here, pero you have to be on all the time because parang it's very organic. Everything is like changing,
Gosh.
like in real time. So as the engineer, you need to be on your toes the whole time because the whole writing process is happening. And then as the engineer, you have to be on top of it when one of the producers asks for another synth. So this studio is Electric Garden Studios in Brooklyn. A great studio. If you're ever in Brooklyn and you want to check out that space, let me know. I'd love to connect you guys. Dito nagre-record Emily King. Who else? Her, John Batiste.
Jean Baptiste.
Yes, D'Angelo. This is their space.
So sabay-sabay silang ano?
Oo, and so again, this is a reminder na parang walang set rules
Right.
in music. Sometimes you record and you track and you produce, you make beats all at once. So next slide. And the next slide is also in Electric Gardens, another photo sent by my friend Jackie, who's here, the mixer of KZ Tandingan.
Oh, diba?
So this is another recording session where it's more, it's just more structured. So this is where Jackie is just controlling the tracking session with her Pro Tools, and the producer is just instructing her on what takes are being done. They're recording vocals here. So this is much simpler and much more focused.
Yeah.
So for all the studio folks who are here, you guys are familiar with this environment.
This is more our setup.
Yeah, exactly. And this was my life then dito sa Pinas back then. Next slide. And more importantly, this is just as acceptable and
Yeah.
this is just as relevant. And especially nowadays, like I said, this is Billie Eilish's setup. Well, not literally.
Yeah.
Pero marami sa atin na we shouldn't take our personal setups for granted. Don't feel na dahil ito lang yung setup ninyo.
Good to know, because I use my closet now.
Yeah.
As you know.
Exactly. Parang work with what you have. You don't have to go out and buy all the plugins in the world. You don't have to spend unnecessarily. Work with what you have. And many times yung ganung technique is what sharpens your skills. So
Yeah.
all of this resourcefulness to serve the music.
Right.
As opposed to like buying and collecting and relying on your thousands of plugins and not knowing how each plugin works.
And it's really, like you said, experimenting, and what you said about it will hone you. It's really, you do it, because I notice a lot of students spend so much time on the academics. Not to say that it's not important, no, but I feel sometimes that they're overthinking a lot of things, like watching also so many videos on how to, but the real learning comes when you are yourself already doing the recording. Mas dun ka matututo.
Tama.
Di ba?
Oo, parang you don't let the process paralyze you from your creativity. The gear is there, the technology is there as a tool for your expression. So it's a good reminder that music comes first, art comes first. There is beauty in imperfection. So, next slide. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is mixing. And with mixing, again, we won't be able to cover everything
Ryan?
in mixing. That will require like a college degree to talk about mixing. But one thing that I do want to talk about, and I think everyone will relate to, is organizing your mix session. So once you've recorded, once you've gathered all your ingredients, ngayon it's time to measure the ingredients you've bought and make sure they're in the right measurements, and you add it. You have a recipe where you add every ingredient at the right time, at the right method, right technique, and you end up with finalizing it into one dish.
Oo nga, no? Even the order in
Yeah.
which you put them in,
Oh,
right?
the time, so there's a reason when something is added to a dish. And that's how mixing is. And a big part of making an effective mixing session is actually preparing your workspace.
Yes.
Like properly
Right.
chopping, yung parang organized workspace lang for your mix session. And I think that's where I wanted to focus on today, because I think everyone's going to relate to that. So next slide. So keep an eye on this mix session. So anyone familiar with what they're looking at today? So
What is that?
So this is a Pro Tools session. So anyone familiar with Pro Tools?
Sino mga gumagamit ng Pro Tools dyan?
And kahit
Pro Tools,
hindi
yeah,
nyo,
hopefully.
kahit hindi nyo gamit ang Pro Tools, it looks familiar, right? So these are audio clips. Pero if you're gonna be starting a mix session at ito ang na-receive mo, anong mga napapansin nyo? Maybe I can take answers from the group. May na-observe po ba kayo sa session na to? Trustee Mark. Yes.
Oh.
Labels. Saan ang labels natin? Anong instrument ang nasa top? Okay? So, what else? Yes. Correct. Parang yung proper delivery ng mga mono instruments and stereo instruments, parang hindi siya organized. There was one track here, si track name 22, na mono channel lang siya, pero bakit delivered siya as stereo? So extra work for the mixer. One more.
More observations.
That's true. Parang normalized siya unnecessarily, or baka naka-zoom. Thank you. So there are many ways na pwede nating i-improve ang delivery natin for mixing. Kasi if you're asking someone else to mix your music, or if you're mixing your own recordings, parang you are giving yourself a better chance of a more productive, more effective mix session when you organize your mix session properly for your sake and for the mixer's sake. So, let's move on to the next slide. This looks better. So, this is definitely a stereo delivery, but at least it's hindi na lang siya panned hard left. But you'll see that not only is it properly labeled, but there's also color coding, right? And you'll see here that it's not like overly limited when they were bounced. Parang may headroom pa ang individual instruments natin. And one thing that probably we didn't notice, at the very top, may markers. May verse 1, may chorus, verse 2, chorus 2. Much easier for the mixer to work with. So I think just those those little housekeeping, I think is something that was worth bringing up for like talking about the mix process. When we're talking about standard tips and practices, this is what we're talking
So
about.
you've received from files na talagang yung wala talagang ka-label-label. Nangyayari sa'yo yun.
Exactly. And thankfully, hindi yun yung world ko as a mastering engineer. Kasi with mastering, and we're gonna go to that later, what the difference is between mixing and mastering. Pero for my mix engineer friends, non-stop ang kanilang venting sa social media.
Kawawa naman.
Kawawa naman. And it's funny then kasi even like color coding your instruments makes a huge difference. And it's funny kasi parang psychology na somehow the red ends up always going to the drum kit or something. Nakatuwa lang. Pero yeah, just proper delivery and maski anong DAW ang gamit mo, whether GarageBand, whether DP, Logic, Ableton. This, even delivering your just audio files, this is important. Label your files properly, and also the timing. Sorry. Like, make sure that all the individual tracks are lined up accurately.
Tamang start time.
Oo, kasi may time na may friend ako na-receive lang niya, snare L. Pero saan yung snare? Ano sa chorus ba? Or so yeah, just think of that in mind. You don't want to waste anyone's time, and you're gonna get a better result if your ingredients are properly prepared before you start cooking. So that's it. Next slide. So for those who are the professionals in this room, just a quick example of the deliverable summary that my friend Jackie Boom gives us advice. You can take pictures. Pero yan, just labeled and organized files. Could be just individual stereo audio files or multi-track sessions, whether it's Pro Tools. And also, if you're gonna be hiring a mixer, make a recent bounce of your song. Kasi sometimes, when they're delivering your files for mixing, baka may missing na instrument. But when you make a bounce or an export of the music, kahit rough demo lang siya, it's an important guide for the mixer. Halimbawa, may nakita siya na, so saan ang snare L na to? Parang mayroong rogue na file. At least he knows from listening to the rough demo of your song. They know kung saan pupunta si snare. References. So this is where the producer communication comes in. Like, it's very important to open the communication in terms of like what kind of songs would be on a playlist that your song is featured on. So keep that in mind when you talk to your mixer or when you're mixing your own songs. Already have that vision in mind as you work on the projects. And then mix notes. If you're going to be working with a separate mixer, you can tell the mixer what you have in mind. For example, you really like how your rough mix sounds. So even just that alone is already going to give your mixer a really big help in terms of like the direction they're going for. Kung alam nila na gusto mo yung rough mix mo.
So hindi pala nakakahiya magpadala ng
Please don't.
yung
oo.
rough mix, medyo masaya na ako dyan. It's not insulting to the mixing.
No.
Okay.
And the more information you share to your mixer, the easier their life will get. And I speak as a mastering engineer then. A mastering engineer will be so grateful for, well, me personally, I would welcome like a novela, even just for mastering notes, compared to like someone who doesn't know what they want.
Yeah.
So be open to that. The mixer and the mastering engineer is there to serve you. So embrace that role as a producer. And they will appreciate you.
Give them as much detail as needed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They are there to listen.
Or they can be honest. I don't know what I want. You decide. Pwede rin yun.
And it's our job to help guide you towards understanding
Right.
what
The
your
vision.
Communication is so important with music. So yeah, music is a shared experience. Even the production side is as much a collaborative process. So yeah, next slide. Ayan, again, going back to communication. So I figured I'd like to share this
Oh,
because
this is interesting.
yeah, so in terms of like standards and practices, this is like the type of ways that producers, engineers, artists communicate in the music world. And I'm sure you guys are already familiar with this. And para sa mga musikero sa atin, hindi mo kailangang maging technical. Like, kahit hindi ka sobrang informed on technical terms, that doesn't mean na hindi ka makakapag-communicate ng gusto mo artistically. For example, it's very common for artists to say, I want a warm, airy sound. So what does that mean? So yeah, this is like the type of ways we communicate in the music industry. In fact, I've had clients who tell me that they want their master to sound smoky. What does smoky mean? And it actually makes sense. Parang smoky is kind of like, it's not bright, it's not like clear. So he told me that it's kind of like a jazz cafe from the 80s. So parang okay, it makes sense. Smoky makes sense. So grit, dirt. So you are completely welcome to use these words. And yeah, this is kind of like the technical translation of each of these creative descriptions. And yeah, these are just equally valid in the production world to use these words. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. I'm not gonna go into too much detail.
Tumpak.
Uy, Starvax.
Oy, okay to. Okay to. Hindi natin sila sponsor, pero
Coffee break me?
yeah, coffee break, yes. Thank you.
So, yeah, if you guys have any questions later, please.
Pero tama, I was
Note
looking
them
like,
down.
usually I would ask you, like, oh, Jett, parang I want it like warm. Tama.
Exactly. and like, you tell me that you want something to sound funky. I get it.
Yeah.
And please don't feel held back with communicating what you're envisioning, even
Yeah.
if you don't know the frequency.
Right,
Please communicate in the
In
language.
fairness tayo, pag nag-uusap tayo, ang dami kong hindi alam, di ba? Talagang, Jett, tama part ba nung ganitong process? Yung, di ba? I have to
Yeah.
ask you a lot of questions.
Yeah, and the
yeah.
thing is, never ko siyang in-approach na you don't know any less. Parang you're talking in your language.
Right.
And it's my job as the engineer to understand that language. Kasi
Client talk. Yeah, client speak. Yeah.
Kasi as a sound engineer, we're not just talking in numbers. So as a sound engineer, it's our job to translate between the art and really executing it in our world of like knobs, gears, numbers. So yeah, this is a fun chart that I figured was worth sharing. So next slide. Mastering. So I won't go to too much detail. In a nutshell, once you've start to gather all your ingredients together and made sure that you've finalized it into one dish, mastering is kind of like putting it in the oven and then taking it out and putting it into your plate, garnishing it, and making sure that this dish complements the other dish in the table. So when you have an album, the job of the mastering engineer is to make sure that every music in the album sounds cohesive from beginning to the end, including the space. Yung silence between songs, it's as much a part of the process. So you'd think na sa mastering parang technical lang, pero there's a lot of room for creative changes to
So
be
yung
done.
pagkakasunod-sunod, di ba? Exactly, like the allowance that you give so that before the next track plays again,
Exactly.
that space is important. Kasi sometimes if it
Yes.
comes in too soon,
Yeah.
parang hindi mo pa na uupuan yung the previous track.
Exactly.
So,
And
so
then-
that's the best, that's your job.
Exactly. And then there are some where the transition is intentionally abrupt.
Yeah.
And there are some transitions where gapless, where there's like things that are happening with the previous song, but the music already comes in.
Right.
All of that is mastering. And at the same time, when halimbawa in the world of cooking, when you're cooking one dish, you focus on that one dish. And then when you're done with that, you
Yes.
cook another. So, pagdating sa mastering, the point is, after the mixer, the producer, the artist worked so hard on finalizing each song, ang job namin as mastering engineers is to make sure that lahat ng songs sa album...
Magkakalasa.
Oo, magkakalasa.
Magkakabagay.
And it's even a communication between the artist and the mastering engineer kasi sequence is also important. Parang, and it's the job of the artist or producer kung ano yung sequence. And it's funny kasi may mga albums kami na ma-receive namin and wala pa silang idea kung ano yung sequence.
Talaga?
Yeah, it's so common. And we always try to educate na the order, the track sequence is so important with mastering.
For the overall experience.
Yes,
of,
exactly. And also for vinyl, the sequence is also important for other reasons. So yeah, go down, next slide. I'll try to be brief with this one since we have a lot to cover. But one of the main questions is what makes mixing different from mastering? Because the fact of the matter is the tools you have for mixing, pwedeng gamitin for mastering. Pero ano ang difference? Number one is perspective. Perspective in many ways. Halimbawa, if you're mixing your own music and you're also mastering your own music, you really need to take a break. You need to have a very objective perspective pagdating sa mastering. Kasi mixing is kind of like you're surrounded by trees. But mastering is you looking at the forest. So it's a very big picture perspective. And there's a reason why even the top mix engineers and top producers still send their music for mastering. Kasi mastering engineers, they get to work on the music without any bias, without any expectation of what the music is. And even that alone already allows for more opportunity to enhance and adjust things that were never noticed or were never addressed in the mixing stage.
Kaya sabi mo, ideal yung iba yung nagmi-mix, iba yung nagmamaster.
Yeah. Pero there are times when the mastering engineer, there are times when the mixer or the producer has to master their own music. And it happens a lot in some genres, like electronic, hip-hop. And there's no rule. But you do give yourself a fighting chance when you freshen your ears just so after listening to your music for so long, for many hours, and being too fixated on individual instruments, on a certain vocal line, take a break, allow your ears to rest, and when it's time to master, you at least give yourself a chance to have a more neutral perspective when you're mastering. So perspective is so important. And number of tracks when you're mastering engineers will tend to work on just a stereo track. So halimbawa, kanina, we're looking at all the individual tracks, snare, guitar, etc. Yung mastering, we're just working on the final stereo mix. And it's actually very crucial because we don't want to manipulate the music at the mastering stage kasi the mixer and the producer already worked so hard on doing the best on their end to finalize the music. The mastering engineer receives the music as considered done. So we're not there to change it. We're there to really enhance it so that it translates the best possible way in different commercial playback systems, different formats. And we have a couple of listening examples later just to give you guys an idea of that in action. Next slide. Purpose, use of plugins. I already discussed this earlier. So you can take a picture of this. This is very helpful if you're ever considering to have your music mastered. These are just a couple of details that will really help if you decide to send your music for mastering to a mastering engineer like me. There's Sterling Sound, Bernie Grunman, maraming mastering studios. There's even a mastering studio in Baguio. I forgot his name, but it's nice to see that there are more mastering facilities here in the Philippines.
But the ISRC, kailangan nyo na kaagad?
No.
Okay.
And actually, if you don't have ISRC, I forgot what it stands for, pero para siyang fingerprint for your music.
International
Standard.
recording, record code, something. Sound recording. International Sound Recording Code. Ayan.
So, you don't need to know, you don't need to have an ISRC, but if you do, it's good to deliver it to your mastering engineer. Pero it's just a way for the internet to keep track of your music when it's out in streaming platforms, etc. And for example, you're using CD Baby or Disco. DistroKid.
Yeah.
They assign ISRCs for your
But
music.
usually those ISRCs come after they're already released, diba?
But if you want to register for your own ISRCs, you can do that as well. If you were curious about that, let me know. Mastering notes, intended sound, reference tracks, playlist. This is important. The engineer is gonna appreciate when you as a client have an idea on the direction you want.
Like pegs, no, mga ganyan. Gusto namin medyo ganito.
Exactly, oo. That's important. Don't feel na parang you're being difficult when you're doing that. And there will be some mastering engineers who it's really a matter of like finding the engineer that like matches with your vibe din eh. Parang you want someone who respects your openness to communicate. Parang again, when it's important to audition and find the people who collaborate with you effectively. So the Grammy-winning engineer next to you might not be the right fit for you, and sometimes it's your buddy that you've been jamming with for years understand your sound. So don't take that for granted. It's really even that alone, yung communication style and yung vibe is just as important when you're wanting to collaborate with someone. So, next slide, please. Ayan na.
Ayun
So-
na, samples.
So I just have 3 examples, and for security purposes, we couldn't really feature label projects. So sorry, Billie Eilish. Sorry, RuPaul.
Sorry, Billie Eilish.
Pero we have
NDA.
pero we have equally amazing examples of music here. So what you're going to be hearing are listening examples of paano nag-evolve ang music from demo all the way to mastered sound. So I'm really grateful for the artists who were generous of sharing these files with us. Pero I'm excited because we're starting with a pretty important artist to both me and Trina.
Yeah.
So tell us something
This
about it.
started our working relationship. O, pakita na ba niya?
Next slide.
When I was doing Zion Aquino's album, yung choirmate namin, si GP Eleria, i-flex ko lang sandali konti kasi si GP is also Berkeley summa cum laude, just like Jett. So our choir has 2 alumni from Berkeley na summa cum laude. But anyway, si GP, kausap ko siya. I was working on Zion's first single. I was so frustrated kasi hindi ko naman alam kung ano yung mastering, di ba? But I was telling him, sabi ko, bakit parang meron akong kulang na hinahanap na? Sabi ko, Angie Razul did the mix. Angie is one of the best.
One of the best mixers and engineers in the Philippines.
Diba? And I knew I was already happy with this mix. Pero gusto kong lumitaw pa yung boses. Sabi ko, ayoko naman lakasan. Pero bakit? So sabi niya, tawagan mo kaya si Jett, yan ang trabaho niya. Sabi ko, ay, oo nga si Jett. Ganyan. So I contacted Jett. And she was like, let me handle that. Let me try. Sabi ko, ano ba yung mastering? Sabi niya, sige, kasi si Angie already did a master. Meron siyang mix, meron din siyang master. Now, of course, I could hear the difference, but I was looking for something else. So sabi ni Jett, why don't you, I'll do it for free. may pa-free pa siya na, just so you can try it out. And, and I was so scared kasi sabi ko, what if I can't tell the difference? Yung parang, hindi ko alam kasi parang wala akong tiwala sa tenga ko minsan. No? I'm not like hit people, the studio people who have like parang mga sharp ears. So I was like, sige. And I was so worried, but Jett sent me the master. Ito, pinagtabi ko pa yung kay Ange at saka yung sa kanya. Kasi ko, baka mamaya, what if I can't tell? But you know what? When I heard Jett's master, literally naluha ako kasi sabi ko, ito yung hinahanap ko. This is exactly what I've been wanting to hear for years na hindi lumakas yung volume ng boses, pero lumitaw. And now, whenever I explain mastering to like my own layman's explanation is, when you take a picture, and then if the equivalent of mastering it is making it 3D, it's like everything pops out. Parang yun yung perception ko of what the master did. So after that, I go, I want you to master the whole album. So that's what got us started. So this is really Over You. This was arranged by Jay Durias. We won Best R&B in the Awit Awards for that year. But so, ang laking bagay kasi din. Sabi ko, R&B na ako, ganyan. But yeah, so this, you'll hear the mix and the master.
So let's start, Ryan, with the mix first. It's gonna be just 30 seconds. So let's enjoy it, and then it's gonna be a subtle difference between the mix and the master. So just keep in mind. Kung ano yung kwento ni... Okay, ready. Thank you, Zion. Thank you, Trina. Now let's listen to the master. Subtle but litaw.
I keep telling myself that I'm really over you. If I could read it, good Lord, am I really over you? If I keep telling myself that I'm really over you, I need to put you down.
Diba? So parang hindi lang, it's not just lumakas. Parang yung individual parts, parang mas may something siya.
Yeah. And also, mastering is not just pushing for loudness. Kasi if that's all it took, then everything's gonna sound great. But anytime kasi you push for loudness, there's gonna be a point where you have diminishing returns. Something's gonna start distorting. Yung boses, parang it will sound pushed back and parang pumping. So it's really a fine balance of just a lot of nuance and just artistic decisions.
Nakatawa si Ange, sabi ko. So I sent him your master also. Because Angie is a friend and wala naman siyang it was not like insulting to him or anything. Kasi
This is
pinadala
the
ko sa
process.
kanya. Sabi ni Angie, iba talaga yung nag-aral. Sabi niya lang yan gano'n. No, but syempre Angie's really the best, one
He
of the
is
best.
the best.
At what,
And it's such an honor to be mastering
with him
Angie's
also,
work.
oo.
Kasi I can't mix how he mixes.
So ang ganda nung balance na Angie mixed, you mastered. So yeah, I'm
Yun,
proud
ang-
of what we did.
I
yeah.
know, and my job really is to take what Angie worked so hard on, and made sure na it's really heard how it's intended to be heard in commercial playback systems. So
I was amazed that you were saying something like, what's the intention? Ako kasi parang, what do you mean, what's the intention? It's just to sound good. Or like, but yeah, you took a look at siguro like the direction, the overall, the artist, etc. So yeah, I mean, I never knew that mastering pala was that detailed. I really thought it was just pump it up. But apparently not. There's much more to mastering than that.
Yes.
No.
Ayan. So moving on, next slide. So this is interesting, and this one we have the demo version ready. So let me stand up just to give So this is interesting, and the reason I mention I share a lot of content by producer and engineer Jackie Boom Sanchez is because she's a really good friend, Grammy-winning engineer. But I also do a lot of these lectures with her. So we tag team on a lot, and we're actually going to have a joint workshop for Women's Audio Mission around October. But we work together a lot with teaching. So this is an artist, her name's Kay Bello. And you'll hear from the demo na pulidong-pulido na yung performance. And Jackie, who's the producer, yun talaga yung goal niya, that even from the songwriting process, parang you're already aiming for that final intention, final interpretation. And many times, even to this day, a lot of like top records, minsan yung demo, yung rough vocal, ang final vocal. Kasi many times yung intent, yung emotional interpretation, mas dama sa first performance. So you'll hear na yung demo was the final demo that's used until the master. Pero let's listen first to the demo kasi very bare bones lang siya, like songwriting session. So let's play the demo.
I just wanna free myself. I just wanna free myself. I just wanna free myself. Oh, I'm in a space where I don't really know who I really am or what I really want. Not even having fun. Motions open, somebody will notice. Hurt in my eyes, all this pent up emotion. Why can't they see this isn't me in a space where I don't know? Do I take the road and the road?
Actually, parang finished music na siya actually. Parang pwede na siyang i-release dito sa Pinas. Mahilig tayo sa acoustics. But ang intention ni Jackie dito, when you hear the mix and the final produced mix, you'll hear that it's still the same guitars, same performance, but the additional instruments that were brought in really complemented that groove. You'll hear from the drums and the background vocals na it's the same songwriting, same vibe, but it's just heightened by that subtle production work. So let's listen to the mix.
Myself, I just wanna free myself. I just wanna free myself. I just wanna free I'm in a space where I don't really know who I really am or what I really want. Ain't even having fun. The motions hoping somebody will notice. Hurting my eyes, all this pent up emotion. Why can't you see this isn't me in this space where I don't know? Do I take the road?
The magic of Jackie Boom. So let's listen to the master. Again, it's a subtle difference, but it's really just trying to like support that groove that's especially in the bass line. So let's listen.
Just wanna free myself. I just wanna free myself. I just wanna free myself. I just wanna free myself.
Thank you, Ryan. So that's Kay Bello. And we have another example, just one more. But this example, the next one is Brooklyn-based hip-hop jazz group. And they're called Poetic Thrust. And dito, Jackie wasn't the producer. The band itself were producing. And they already had like a final, when they worked with Jackie, it was already, they fully produced the recording. So the demo is just the unmixed record. So you'll hear like the balance is different. So let's give it a listen.
Someday, days, I play the way you want me to play. Some days I play. I split the bill for all your grievances and leave you with the love note on the napkin that's responded by my kisses. Please don't say your heart where you made me. Eat my words. I split the bill for all your grievances and leave you with the love note on the napkin that's responded by my kisses. Please don't say your heart where you made me. Eat my words.
So if you listened, if in your mind you have an idea on how you could improve that balance, parang the everything just feels buried with the brass section just taking over the whole recording. So now let's listen to Jackie's mix.
Some days I play the way you want. Some days I play. I split the bill for all your grievances and leave you with the love note on the napkin that's responded by my kisses. Please don't say your heart where you made me. Eat my words. I split the bill for all your grievances and leave you with the love note on the napkin that's responded by my kisses. Please don't say your heart where you made me. Eat my words.
You hear the groove more, and the brass is still there, but it's not taking over. You hear more of the words from the rap. So yeah, and now let's hear the final master.
Some days I play the way you want. Some days I play. I split the bill for all your grievances and leave you with the love note on the napkin that's responded by my kisses. Please don't say your heart where you made me. Eat my words. I split the bill for all your grievances and leave you with the love note on the napkin that's responded by my kisses. Please don't say your heart where you made me. Eat my words. Please don't make me.
For those who are wondering what I did, I'll probably send like a follow-up
Or
newsletter
later
or
sa
something.
Q&A. or
But I have to review what I did. I can't remember at this point.
Mike is kind of amazed, like, what?
Pero if you guys are curious about more of Jackie's work, look her up, mixedbyjackieboom.com. Amazing mixer. And hopefully I get to bring her here sa Pinas just to talk more.
Oo, para there's more to come, for
Yes,
sure.
yes.
Marami pa tayo pag-uusapan,
I know. So we're gonna go quickly at the next stage, which is Filipino Diaspora. Moving on, next slide. Thank you, Ryan.
Special mention, Ryan.
So Filipino Diaspora, we're not gonna go into so much detail here, but I encourage you all to look them up online. They're all of the Pinoys here are very present on social media. So a quick Google, a quick search on Instagram. I highly recommend following them and their journey, and they're very easy to connect with. This is the reason why I wanted to include this in our talk. Is I think people don't realize na ang dami nating Pinoy all over the world who are big players sa music industry. Not just sa musicians. We know there's Bruno Mars, there's Saweetie, her, Nicole Scherzinger, and there's even Biba Doobie in the UK. And I just finished mastering this amazing rock artist, Toa Bird, who's also Pinoy. But maraming people in the back end. Maraming mga music executives na Pinoy, maraming engineers, vocal producers na Pinoy, and this is just a quick list of people that's worth following. Okay, next
We have
slide.
people from labels here, so this might be of interest, no?
So the first is Ramira Abraham. Again, I don't have to talk much because a lot of their credits are already here. And she's younger than me, and she's already doing a lot of amazing things in the UK. She's worked with Adele as an engineer, Sprinkle Singers, Little Mix. This is just a quick preview of everything that she's done, and she's very generous of her time. Look her up on Instagram, Ramira Abraham. And then next is you have Christian Almiron. So Ramira is born and raised here sa Pinas. And yeah, galing. Christian Almiron is Filipino-American, and he is the music director, the sole music director of Billie Porter. And again, that's his specialty, is like live performances. And we're hoping to keep in touch and get to know each other more. I only met Christian Almiron because of the Recording Academy. And I wouldn't have met many of these people if not for like my involvement. So it really makes a difference to be active in the community. So Mariah Carey, Lauryn Hill, he's even worked with Babyface. Amazing guy.
Hindi natin alam, no?
Oo
May
nga,
mga
ang
ganyan
dami.
pala.
Jorel Corpus, yep, your friend. I'm sure many of us probably know Jorel, but he's also born and raised in Pinas, and we actually went to Berkeley at the same time. We always joke about when we found out that me and Jorel got accepted in Berkeley. We haven't really spoken before, pero nag-meet kami sa McDo, Katipunan, para lang i-figure out paano natin gawin to Jett. But now, Jorel Corpus is now an amazing Dolby Atmos and stereo mix engineer, and he's worked not just with Netflix, Narcos, Tyrese, BJ the Chicago Kid, but he's also he's also been nominated for the Emmys, and he's a Peabody winner for his mixing work. Amazing. Follow
Nice.
Jorel Corpus and if you want so he mixes a lot of the Lola Amor albums as well, and any immersive mixes you hear of Lola Amor, that's Jorel. So
Cool.
yeah, great resource. Next slide. So the next slide are the music execs, and this is really cool. So Lyle Del Mundo, he's not necessarily a music executive, but he is in marketing. But he's such a great resource because he founded this organization called Filipinos Advancing Creative Education. And he's been such a connector with all the amazing creators in LA. And it's funny because there was one recent event where the Grammys needed Saweetie for an event, but they couldn't get a hold of Saweetie, so they had to message Lyle, Kuya Lyle, can you help us get Saweetie? And that's how Saweetie managed to get involved in the Grammys. And I always wanted to share this story that in a Grammy event in LA, someone approached me asking, do you know Jett Galindo?
Wow.
Who's my mom? Because Lyle Del Mundo is acting manager of Bretman Rock. And Bretman Rock apparently is a big fan of AG's.
Oh, wow.
And has been
So
wanting to connect
cool.
with AG. So anyway, Lyle Del Mundo is who you would call a connector. So I know that he comes down here to the Philippines often, and he's in works of like, but yeah, any ways that you connect with Lyle, I highly encourage it. And he's call him Kuya
Baka
Lyle.
masabi niya, parang ang daming nagsustalk sa akin ngayon.
Follow him. Or at the very least, follow Filipinos Advancing Creative Education Instagram. They're called Forward, FACE
Yeah, don't
FWD.
harass him, ha?
Yeah, don't. But just follow him for educational. But Marisa Pizarro, again, these execs, I only met through the Recording Academy. And
Amazing.
so Marisa Pizarro is Filipino American. So the execs are all Filipino American who are actually very eager to represent Philippines.
Yeah.
Like uh, they wear barot saya. No, it's just I'm just so amazed by how proud the Filipino Americans are with being Pinoy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that any opportunity for them to connect with the Pinoys here and open collaboration.
I met another one too, who's concentrating naman on sync licensing. Si Ralph Boado. I've been introducing him to some other people also.
Yeah.
Ganun din, parang excited siya. Sabi niya, meron talagang pwedeng puntahan ng Pinoy music, like hip-hop, and because his clients are the network. So anyway.
Exactly. Marisa Pizarro is a senior VP of Def Jam for the longest time.
Meow.
And she was responsible for signing Travis Scott and Future. So the reason we have Travis Scott and Future is because of this woman. And she was also a big part of the release of Donda by Kanye West. But yeah, and also very proudly Pinoy.
They identify as Pinoy, ganun.
Yes, yes. And when we got together in a panel, it's like we got excited that there's like 3 Pinoys in the panel. Me, Marisa, and Jojo Villanueva. So Jojo Villanueva is works in the film side. So he's a music supervisor. And yeah, just amazing guy. And he's responsible for the music programming for Straight Outta Compton, Sing, what's the last one? Guardians of the Galaxy.
Wow.
So follow them, learn from them, and I encourage for you guys to think outside the box and know that there's a Filipino support group outside of Pinas. I think that's one thing that sets Pinoys apart from other countries. Like, sure, we have K-pop exploding. We have J-pop. There's an audience for Bollywood.
Para naging peg yung K-pop tsaka J-pop.
J-pop,
no?
oo. May P-pop tayo. Pero at the same time, I think tayo lang ang only country na sobrang widespread ang influence ng Pinoy. And the Pinoy pride is real outside of Pinas. And it's something that we need to encourage and harness. So yeah, I felt that it was so important for me to share these. They're just a
Yeah.
few of all the many Pinoys.
We don't know these things, so
Yeah.
oh.
So
Thanks
next
for
slide.
that.
And now I think these are the things that people are most curious about.
Yan.
Pinoy
Grammys.
representation in the Recording Academy. And the reason why I decided to brainstorm with Trina then on making this workshop is because people are surprised na it's possible for Pinoys to be members of the Recording Academy. For the longest time, parang it's always been a mystery.
It's like a unreachable dream for,
Yeah.
di ba? Parang, how do
Yeah.
we get there?
And it for me, parang na-realize ko na something needed to be done kasi like my sister Ate Jeng was telling me about how big of a deal it was here when SB19 made it to the first round of Grammy nominations. And that's great.
Yeah, and I was talking to you about this, di ba? Kasi parang binroadcast na parang, ganito, ganyan. And then some of us were like, broadcast na ba yung ganyang balita? Parang, how aren't they kind of far off the mark pa of being into a Grammys? But, we're thinking like, maybe you just celebrate your little victories. But then Jett was like, no, you need to do that. No? Kasi you were saying, ano nga yung sabi mo, parang, because there's a whole process and there's like lobbying or stuff
Yeah,
like that.
you have to celebrate every milestone. And the fact of the matter is it's not that hard to submit your music for Grammy consideration. And that's why we'll have this discussion. Next slide, please. So what are the benefits of a membership in the Recording Academy? So the reality is merong annual dues ang pagiging member ng Recording Academy.
So to be a member, you're an individual.
Individual.
Individuals, okay.
Pero I know labels can register as a media company. And they don't have to be voting members or professional members in order to submit music for consideration. There's just a separate link, which I'll actually have access to later, in order to apply to submit music for Grammy consideration if you're a media company. So if you're
A person, an individual.
so if you're an individual, this is what we'll go
All
through.
right, okay.
So what are the benefits of being a member? Next slide. And sorry, too much of my face here. Pero
That's fine.
there are a lot of benefits to. I'll stand up. One of the obvious things why it's important to consider membership in the Recording Academy is you get to participate in the Grammy Awards voting process. So you can submit music for consideration and you can vote in the Grammys. Another important part of being a member is that you can also play a role in changing the rules of the Grammy Awards. Halimbawa, just last year, may new category, Best African Pop. And now, with the growing awareness of better representation in the Recording Academy, we finally have a trustee from an Asian background. First time that the Recording Academy has a trustee
Wow.
who's Asian American. It took this long. And one of the things that we're advocating for is to create a category for Best Asian Pop. And that seems obvious, di ba? Clearly, however, pag may Best Asian Pop category, it's probably going to be dominated by K-pop. I'm a big Stray Kids fan right now, so and yeah, I get it. But it's really a gateway to more Asian music to
Right.
really make it to the mainstream because it's possible. And many times Filipino artists have proven it. Not just Lea Salonga and not just
Her.
yeah, her, exactly. There's so many Filipino artists outside, not just in the US, but also in the UK. So we've proven it, and this really just takes it a step further. So yeah, pag member ka, you get to be part of the process of changing the rules.
So like any individual can be a member?
So we'll go through
Okay,
that later.
sorry. Excited
And,
masyado.
and then you can go to the Grammy Awards. You can go to panels. Kahit dito ka sa Pinas, there are a lot of virtual panels that's accessible. And to be a member of the Recording Academy, you have to be part of a chapter. So the chapters are all US chapters, pero international members are perfectly fine. Pero you choose a chapter that's closest to you. And the closest
Parang
is,
ngayon ko lang naalala, I think Marion Honor is...
yeah, so she's an LA chapter. I'm not sure what chapter she is.
Yeah, I seem to remember she was posting, it's like, oh, she's probably a member.
Yeah, and there are a few other members. I know Chris Lopez of
Okay.
ABS
Tarsier.
of Tarsier is a voting member because I invited him.
Right.
And there are more Pinoys, and we just want more because we should.
Yeah.
There's no reason that there's no more. And also Grammys goes to the Washington D.C. to advocate for laws. For example, like royalties for radio is in the process of being finalized, and even tax refunds for music production is in the works, America, and even like laws on AI. The Recording Academy is at
On
the
top.
forefront of that. So being a member of that really makes you more involved and gives you more influence in the changes in the music industry, not just in the US but worldwide.
Nice.
So next slide. Oh, that's Jackie, by the way, yung pink hair. That's her. But anyway, so to be a member, you have more information by going to members.recordingacademy.com. And again, there are annual dues to be a voting member or a professional member. So it's $150 a year. But just mentioning that na,
Yeah.
no one is immune to that. I pay for my dues. Anytime you're a professional member of an industry organization that's exclusive, there are dues. So to be a voting member, sige, upo na ako. Napagod.
Opo tayo.
So to be a
Sama kita.
voting member, you need to be it says full-time musician, but full-time is very relative.
Yeah.
So you just need to prove that you earn a living through music. And again, that is proven through your body of work.
Right.
So to apply to be considered to be a voting member, you first need recommendations from two professional musicians. And ideally, they're voting members as well in the Recording Academy. So voting
So
members...
yung isa, ikaw.
Oo. So ang challenge dito, ang voting members, they can only recommend 2 people every year. And it's gonna be easier with more Pinoys in the Recording
Right.
Academy because we just keep
Kumbaga
recommending
sa
more and
virus,
more.
i-infect natin
Yes,
yung
yes,
Grammys.
yes. And once the recommendations are given, the Recording Academy will email you back to ask for proof of your body of work. So what are the bodies of work? This is where you want to make sure that you compile all your works. So
You have a digital footprint.
yeah, digital footprint. So mga press release, mga events na nagperform ka, and more importantly, you work on releasing your music on streaming. So
Tipong pag ginugal ka nila, kita ka agad kung
halimbawa,
ano.
like my cousin Marco, who's a member of Kahel, they have music out now. So Kahel can apply to be a voting member. Individual musicians will apply as a voting member. And see my other cousin Sean, who has a band.
It's all in the family.
Yes, just release your music on streaming, and that's already the first part. Pero you don't just send the streaming link to the Recording Academy. You need to use some of the resource. So Recording Academy asks you for links to credits database.
Right.
And I wish I put it here. But one credits database na I highly recommend is muso.ai. Who knows muso.ai?
Familiar ba kayo
I'm glad I
dyan?
see one too. Okay. Now, for anyone who's even working even in a little bit in music, save this website, muso.ai. Kasi that is the website that allows you to add your credits and put them all in one place. And I highly encourage you na kahit baguhan ka pa lang, start your Muso profile. Kasi once you've released your music, pag alam mong nasa Spotify na siya, you can actually add your credit
Right.
sa Muso. And once you're ready to apply to be a voting member, send mo lang yung link because the Recording Academy accepts muso.ai as resource for like submitting credits. And yeah, it's also helpful for you professionally when you're networking with people because muso.ai allows for people to see all your work in one place.
Nice.
So
Para siyang LinkedIn ng musicians.
LinkedIn for music, it really is. And we need more Pinoys there. So
Will do.
So what is professional member? So professional members are members who, so both voting member and professional member can submit music as an individual person. You can submit music for Grammy consideration. The only difference between voting member and professional member is only the voting members can vote at the Grammys. Because the Grammys is meant to be a peer-reviewed award where only like creative people who work
Right.
professionally.
So that's how they uphold the integrity of
Yeah.
So if anybody can just pay their way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, so-
But professional members too are as much a part of the music industry, but they're not the creative side. So entertainment lawyers, managers.
These are the voting.
No, they are
They're
the professional members. The
okay.
voting members are the musicians, the songwriters, the creators. The professional members are
Kaya kailangan ng approval process for you to be a voting member para ma-preserve yung...
professional members like lawyers, entertainment lawyers, managers, A&R, music executive. They can still submit music for Grammys. Pero because they're not performing artists, they're not songwriters, they can't vote, but they're professional. Even teachers, educators, fall under the professional.
So ang broad pala ng pwede
yeah.
maging professional member.
Exactly. But and that allows you to be involved, to vote in, to vote for governors, to vote for vote for everything except for the Grammy Awards. And you also can submit music for consideration to Grammys.
Okay,
So
cool.
now Grammy U is for the students. So you might not have too much body of work, and you don't have to be in school anymore. Pag bago kang graduate, I think it's until 28 years old. And I don't think, I'm not sure how much the dues are for Grammy, pero mas mura siya. Pero it's so students can have access to Grammy resources while they're still students. So I highly recommend checking out Grammy U as well. So, if you have questions, we'll go through them later.
Interesting, yeah.
Next slide. Ayan, ilabas na ang camera.
May QR.
So, yeah, like this event, this panel is not enough for me to cover everything about how to submit music.
We
But
should do an entirely another session with you
yeah,
for this.
and
just this.
actually, I can even organize something with the Recording Academy, so that they can have an actual like walkthrough on how to be how to be a member, how to submit, how to vote. But the Grammys have a very thorough walkthrough. I think it's a YouTube video of the whole process of submitting music, whether you're a voting member, professional member, or media company. So save that. Take a picture so you can like access the link later. But yeah, it's a very thorough process, and when you go to the link, there's actually an email or phone number you can reach out to that is directly with the Recording Academy to answer any questions you might have. So me as a governor, I'm speaking to you as myself. I'm not like the spokesperson of the Recording Academy. So the Recording Academy has their own institution, like full-time employees, and they're the ones who will best answer like any questions you might have. But you can also ask me for guidance on
What is your role as gobernadora?
Gobernadora. So governor is an elected position, and we serve as the listening. So we're here to serve our members. So we listen to the needs and requests and situation that affects every member of the Recording Academy. In my chapter, LA chapter is like the biggest chapter of the Recording Academy.
Wow.
And then the governors are actually one of the people who influence the deciding votes on the Recording Academy, on like rules for like membership. So we have a say on the changes that happened with the governance, with the rules of the membership, with all the committees that encompass the Recording Academy. So we're kind of like the voice of the body of the voting community. So the trustees listen to the governors on the community's needs.
Wow.
So yeah, there are governors for LA, for New York chapter, for Atlanta, Memphis. There are a couple of chapters. But I recommend that kung mga Pinoy interested in becoming voting members is to choose the chapter that's closest to us, which is LA.
LA, yeah, for sure.
And to be fair, LA is the biggest chapter, and all the events are
Wow.
mostly held in
You're
LA.
the governor of the biggest chapter.
Oh, actually, hindi ko talaga in-expect na manalo sa elections, but here we are.
ANEPS. Oh, wow. All right, cool.
So, next slide. I think we're down to the next slide. Okay, and also save this QR code, how to vote at the Grammys. So, this is where, this is just to clarify that when you vote at the Grammys, there are two entries. There are two rounds. The first round is when everyone votes for all the entries that makes it to the first round. And there are thousands of entries,
You
including
have to listen to all of them.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Including SB19 last year. And I only mentioned that because that was like big in the news when it comes to like Filipino representation in the Grammys. But also, when you're a voting member, the process of becoming a voting member, they ask you about your background, whether you're a songwriter, whether you're an engineer, whether you're an instrumentalist.
Right.
And from that, you're only limited to voting up
In
to
your
10
category.
categories in your specialty. And I saw a lot of songwriters were here, and I highly recommend also joining the Recording Academy because they just started the Songwriters and Composers Committee. So it's a very young committee, pero ibig sabihin nun, parang there's a lot more projects that are coming up that's very focused on just the songwriter and composers in the Recording Academy. The producers and engineers wing is an older committee, and as the chair of the LA chapter, we have a lot of activities where we actually partner with the songwriters and composers wing. And actually, one of the committee members of the songwriters and composers wing is Taylor Hanson of Hanson. So medyo, yeah, I'm excited to meet him. Lalang, my childhood crush.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's the first round where you have to vote in thousands of entries, but you're only limited to 10 categories and the general category.
Right.
And from there, that's the hard part. That the second round is all the final entries, which is the final nominees. So in the first round, you're not a nominee yet. You're not nominated. You're
Right.
just being considered. It's a second entry where you become the final nominee. So the more Filipinos get to vote in the first round, it really makes a difference. So I think it's nice to plant that seed na it's possible for more of us, and we deserve to be part of that Recording Academy voting body. So
Right.
yeah, I think, what's our time?
So we can do Q&A.
Yeah, no, that's it.
If that's
next
the last
slide.
Yes, tama-tama.
Ay, umabot tayo.
Yes, umabot tayo. So I know you guys have a lot of questions. Yeah, we'll get right on. There are 2 mic stands here. And meron din pala doon. So 4, no?
Yeah,
So
pero
you can just go to to the nearest mic. May house lights ba tayo? Would you know? Para naman nakikita natin yung mga tao.
pero thank you so much for sticking around.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very nice talk, Jett. Grabe, sobrang...
I'm always worried na info overload siya, pero this is really just the start. We're hoping that this is the start of more brainstorming sa ating Pinoy community.
Right. Right. So I'm sure, those of you who have questions, just step up to the mic and don't be shy. And kala ko pa naman, pupunta na sa mic to. Nagsi-CR pala.
Hello.
Ayan.
Hi, Jeff and Miss Rina.
There you go.
My name is
Sige.
Nat, yeah.
Sige.
My question is, I have 2 questions. So number 1 is, Jet, I'm curious about your take on AI-generated mastering tools. That's 1. And number 2 is, uso kasi ngayon yung magpa-produce ka ng isang kanta, and then iipunin mo later on, you come up with a compilation or an album. Perhaps you can share some of the best practices if the route is like that. So yun lang po. Thank you.
Are you, I'm curious of your background.
Singer-songwriter.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Yeah. Also connected with Jesscom, by the way.
Oh,
So,
small world. Good,
yeah,
good.
From Hangad.
Forward all this info to them. They appreciate that.
Okay.
Nice to meet you. I always like that question about AI mastering because, of course, the majority sentiment about it is it's evil. Pero I'm usually the cup half full person. But I'm personally also, I personally experienced like one of the good sides of AI mastering, and it's that the reality is many communities don't really get to have access to like a full-scale mastering facility. Like Pinas, parang for the longest time, it was hard to have access to mastering. AI mastering allows a lot of communities to experience hearing their music mastered for the first time. It really is a gateway. But at the end of the day, one of our running jokes in the Recording Academy is AI has not experienced heartbreak. AI doesn't break rules. It follows, it generates based on data. So it doesn't know how to break away from that. We don't, AI doesn't break rules, AI doesn't feel. And the virtue of AI mastering is it at least gives a lot of amazing creators that don't have as much resources the ability to have their music mastered or at least hear their music mastered for the first time. And I feel that that's a really good stepping stone to experiencing or at least making the effort to make human collaboration in mastering possible, because iba talaga ang difference if you collaborate with someone for mastering, because again, it's human emotion. You break rules and you really choose the music at the end versus data that's just gathered by AI. So I hope that answers your question. And Lander is always the best one. However, one good thing I recommend, if you're ever gonna try AI mastering, I recommend this Ozone. You guys know Ozone? So Ozone has this function. Hiya, Jeng. Ozone has this function where there are two tabs. One is human, one is AI. So you can start with the AI function, let it do its thing, and once you're happy with the sound of the AI mastering with Ozone, you can actually go back to the human setting, and it will show you the settings that it approached the mastering, and you can use that as a learning tool to learn mastering yourself. At the end of the day, you get a more effective mastering experience doing it on your own. Let AI mastering teach you to master. So, and also, one advice I give if you're starting, if you're planning on releasing an album or EP, but starting with a single, keep in mind na, first of all, sequence. Even if you're like releasing one music at a time, think of the sequence when you plan to release it as an EP. And also, always think of cohesion sonically. Kasi minsan, there are times when natapos na yung EP and then we decide na we have to remaster the first single kasi hindi siya cohesive with the rest of the EP. So those two main things. Just make sure na you're thinking of the sound of the previously released music, and also like know the sequence when you plan on releasing it as a compilation. So
Should they just keep the old mix in case do you need to remaster?
yeah,
when
like
it's an,
keep all your assets.
keep all assets.
Yeah, you Tina,
Yeah,
keep
'cause
everything.
I know. Yeah. So well, para makarami tayo. So we're gonna do. There are these two mics. This is for video purposes kasi we have a video team. Siyempre gusto namin extra kayo sa video, nakikita kayo. So here and here. Ba't ka natatawa, Jeng? So ayun, unahan na lang para contest tayo, no? So left, right, left, right. Dito na muna, and then a Jeng, and then we go that way. All right? So dito muna tayo. Thank you sa mga nagtatanong. Okay, let's go.
Okay. Hello po.
Hello.
What's your name?
My name's Ryan po. First po, thank you po for doing this masterclass. It's very formative and inspirational po. My question po, I actually have two also. First, when you receive mastering notes, like a reference track or a reference playlist, what's your workflow po? Do you listen to the playlist before you master? Are you doing A/B?
I like that. Thanks for asking. So, did you guys hear the question? Okay. So every mastering engineer has a different approach, but what I like to do first is rather than listen to the reference. Again, it depends on every project, but I want to make sure I get a better understanding of the artist, not the reference. So I listen to that. and at times, like sometimes I want to listen to the artist first and their previous releases, and then master, and then listen to their reference, and see if I'm close. Like sometimes it's different, but many times, like once I've mastered based on my aesthetic choices, I review their master just to make sure how if just to double check that I'm going the right way based on their idea. And then listening to the reference, okay, let me adjust it further. Parang I just don't want a reference to influence my approach. There are times where if it's an artist that's very out there, for example, it's a very unconventional genre, or sometimes they don't have a previous body of work. I'll give the reference a listen just to make sure that I'm in the ballpark. Like I understand their direction, but there's no one rule. But I really appreciate when clients send their references and any mastering notes. It's always welcome.
Thank you po. And my second question po is, do you have a favorite, like a go-to outboard gear that you,
Outboard?
like for mastering?
Yeah, outboard.
Up.
So this won't be helpful, but I really my favorite outboard gear are line amps. Line amps is literally just adding gain. And the mastering lab and the bakery is really known just for the sound of our gain. It's a custom made line amp based on the schematic of Doug Sachs. So ang only purpose niya is adding level. Pero even just the level alone influences the sound of your mastering chain. And we have two kinds of line amps, tube and solid state. And one is not better than the other. They're just different, and it serves different genres or music productions differently. Pero even that alone, just the line amp already makes a difference. Some restraint really goes a long way.
Are they more like preamps po? Or?
Oo, parang gain, preamp.
Sige po.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you
Right.
po.
So ang gagawin natin para makarami, only one question per person.
Yes.
But you can go again. I mean, if
Ah.
pumila ulit kayo, and if we have enough time at umabot kayo sa second question nyo, okay lang. But only one question per person. All right. Let's go. Ajeng. Hi, Ajeng.
Hi, Jett. Finally, we meet. And
I mastered Ajeng's album.
yes. Woohoo! Grabe. Grabe si Jett. Gusto ko lang sabihin ngayon pa lang. So, Jett, you mentioned earlier that when a certain digital album is going to be mastered on vinyl, it can be changed in terms of sequence. I want to understand why that is so,
I'm
and
glad you asked.
whom, as an artist, do I talk to discuss those possibilities?
You can ask me later.
Usap na lang tayo.
Oo, pero
May direct
this is-
access ka naman kay Jett.
This is a good question because there is a reason why we still encourage that track sequence to be flexible for vinyl. And I wrote an article on Isotope. Look up Isotope mastering vinyl. And there's an article there with listening examples of like how to prepare your music for vinyl release. Because yung vinyl format, it's a very old format with not a lot of change since it was created many decades ago. Parang 50, almost a century ago. There hasn't been a lot of innovation, and for good reason. The limitations of the format is one of its virtues. Kasi parang, yeah, again, I'm not gonna go too much on that. Pero one of the weaknesses of the vinyl format is when you go further in sa diameter ng papasok ka sa vinyl, and I'm sure the label folks are aware of this. Pag papasok ka sa loob ng vinyl, the quality loss is very noticeable. And there's nothing you can do. It's just the physical limitations of the design. Kasi parang there's not much real estate for the grooves to track. So the high frequency, yung tinis, yung clarity, yung brightness ng music nyo, it starts getting brittle. So the reason why we recommend changing your track sequence sometimes is yung clarity loss is less obvious for the more acoustic, relaxed music. So you would want your more relaxed music to be the last song on your side. You want your energetic music at the outermost. Even the length of the music, that is even more important. You will want your music per side to be less than 20 minutes, preferably less than 18 minutes. Your vinyl cutter engineer will love you if you keep it less than 18 minutes per side. So, yeah.
Interesting. Thank you. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
dito
And,
Jen.
na-
and look up the article that I wrote kasi I made a listening example of what the music sounds like sa outermost diameter and innermost diameter. So,
Ganun pala
Thank
yun.
you. Thank you, Jen.
thank you,
Ganun
Ate.
pala yun. Galing. Okay, dito tayo sa
Alright.
kabila.
Hi, I'm Crazy Clamor. I'm an independent singer-songwriter. And my question is, and also, I can relate na psychology graduate because I am
Yes.
too. I have this dream kasi na yung songs ko maging translated siya into film, soundtrack, whatever. I don't know. Like,
Magamit sa films.
yes po.
Ganon.
So, and right now, kasi may disconnect siya between where I am right now and where I want to be. So, any tips on how I can go there?
So, follow this guy on Instagram. His name is Jared Oluwa. Jared Oluwa. So, he's one of those guys who's very generous about sharing information about sync licensing. So there is and this is a very common income for songwriters and composers sa LA, is they just write music that gets picked up for movies or ads. Like, there's this electronic producer that I master, and siya ang suki ng Apple Music. So I've mastered a lot of music that's been used for the Apple ads. It's with sync licensing and music supervision. So it's its own industry in the US. And start with following Jared Oluwa because he has a lot of like online workshops and information resources on music supervision. Pero music supervision ang world where they select music for choosing for featuring in films or ads.
Yeah,
So,
look into music libraries. Kasi,
yeah, that then.
that's sa US ganon. May mga music libraries and you get your music into those. Well, they have their separate contracts. I was talking to you about Ralph Buado. Maybe one time we'll have him over kasi sync licensing, parang specialization or ang sync licensing. So that's another thing you can explore.
Pero yeah,
Thank you so
Instagram is such an important resource kasi maraming experts who really devote time to share their knowledge. And yeah, Jared is a good one. And reach out, connect with me on Instagram kasi marami din akong tatanda ang iba pang music supervisor contacts, and I'll try to connect them to you then.
Okay, thank you so much.
Right. Kettle.
Hi, Jet and
Hello.
Trina. Thank you. Question ko lang kasi, no, yung sa pinakita yung samples kanina, obvious na yung sa foreign, naka-in your face kagad, no? Lahat ng final mix or nagagawa sa local, parang masyado siyang, yung, parang room yung final mix or yung pagka-mix niya. Mayroon ka bang matuturo kung paano yung ganong klaseng mix na talagang hindi siya basag, pero ang lapit niya sa tenga or sa tao pag pinapakinggan? Nagsisimula ba yun sa recording or sa ano pa lang? Thank you.
Thank you. Maraming, and it's funny kasi ang other people are telling me na for them, mixes in the Philippines are very vocal-centric at baon ang instruments.
Isa rin yun, na
Yeah.
masyadong palaging malakas yung boses, tapos yung instrumento nakababa.
So I think that's also one of the things that is, ayun, parang again it's a very trend-focused like mix technique. And I don't come from a mix background. I'm more in the mastering background. But to be honest, mastering also makes a huge difference on making music feel polished and tightened. And although I can't like always master for your music, for example, um, have you ever collaborated with a mastering engineer before, or
Meron naman. Pero yung ano lang talaga, yung idea kasi na, di ba, kunwari pag nakinig ka ng international na mix, parang yung snare and vocals parang halos magkatapat. Pero pagdating sa atin, masyado siyang parang layo. Tapos palaging parang, alam ko na, siyempre kanya-kanyang mix yun. Pero paano ma-achieve yung parang ganun ka, in your face yung ano talaga?
Pa-master mo kay Jett.
Oo nga naman, oo nga naman.
No, pero
oo nga naman.
ang to be honest,
Oo, tama.
Yun
Pero
yung,
actually-
yun yung ginawa ko.
Si Trina ang mag-sponsor ng pagmaster sa'yo.
no, one thing
Thank you, Trina.
one thing I would parang pitch to FILSCAP down the road, and it doesn't have to be FILSCAP, pero Jorel Corpus, who mixes for Lola Amor and a lot of other OPM, but also does a lot of top 40s in the US. He would be a really good resource for that, kasi that's his specialty, like very modern. Kasi one thing I noticed as a mastering engineer, a lot of modern mixes are very, parang breaks a lot of rules. Parang there are a lot of processing that's uncomfortable to watch when they're mixing, but then as a whole it sounds modern and it sounds correct. And sometimes what it takes is to like see a mix engineer in action, and I think Jorel is a master of that. Pero at the end of the day, I think it starts with recording, and it also starts with like music production and I think all facets of the music production process will lead to that. So it's definitely like a learning process. Mastering will definitely help. One thing though, the one tip that I could suggest right now, and I'm not sponsoring Isotope, promise, but I written for Isotope. That's why I know their products a lot. But they have this tool on Ozone called tonal balance control. Tonal balance control. Tonal balance is like, as you can tell, is like the overall tonal characteristics. Bakit tunog modern ito? It's mostly about tonal balance. And tonal balance control allows you to load your favorite song, and it shows you the overtonal makeup of their music, and you're able to match and reference that tonal balance. So I recommend learning and trying out tonal balance control. There's also many tools out there, but I really believe that it's really watching someone do the work will make the difference. And I know Jorel flies here often, and I'll find a way that the next time he comes here, we'll arrange something for the mixers in the room.
Sasakyan ko lang yung
Thank you.
tanong ni Kettle, no? Kasi I know where you're coming from, just where I came from. If your mixer did whatever, di ba, nag-mix na yung ano mo, could you do a back and forth with the mixer to, kasi nga nag-mix na and gusto ko ganito. Could you communicate with the mixer and do a back and forth na? Kasi I know there are limitations, like some of it is trabaho ng mixer. Iba. So you can tell the mixer, can you do this para lumitaw yung ganon?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, this is one of like the very common challenges then in the production process. So there are mixers who by default will deliver to me their mix and then another mix version with lead vocal down, 1 dB, and another mix with like vocal up a dB. And yeah, and that allows me like a lot more freedom, because the thing with mastering is mastering tends to bring out the vocals a lot more. So many times it benefits me to have like a less vocal version. So yeah, having those versions, if you're not 100% sure of where your vocals are sitting, that helps a lot.
Nice. Kasi I was, that answers my question. That answers your question. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to our next question.
Hello po. My name is Gea, Gea Rieca, and I'm a singer-songwriter, producer, and aspiring mixing engineer. With the again, thank you for this opportunity. We learned a lot. And with the technology today, would you, as much as possible, advise to master your songs in Dolby Atmos?
No.
No.
Actually, the only reason I say no is focus on your stereo first. Stereo is still king. It's stereo still king. And I say this as someone who's good friends with amazing Atmos mixers and Atmos mastering engineers, and I also produce Atmos albums for classical. But stereo is still your the main format that everyone will listen from. Even your phone, like a lot of music discovery is still stereo. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Focus on stereo. If the budget is limited, stereo. Don't let all those new formats distract you from just making sure that you have a solid music release on stereo. Atmos is, if your music is intended from the get-go as an immersive experience, kung electronica man, and your main intent is for people to hear your music in immersive, then that's different. Pero as a pop singer-songwriter, don't let that get in the way of you having a solid stereo single first. That's and the Atmos can come after. I know that Apple says that they ano ba yan? Parang they kind of give a bit more push pag merong Atmos version.
Yeah.
I think it serves the music more if you focus on the stereo first, and then use that opportunity to experiment or explore the Atmos side. Pero don't let that get in the way of you having a solid product first. So, yeah, that's my thing. Yeah, and even in the US, Atmos is something that is hardly ever considered a default of many indie artists. The important thing is for their music to be discovered first, and having a great stereo is the first step.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you for that.
All right. Next.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Max po. I'm actually bandmate ako ng cousin niya si Sean. Hello po. So, ang question ko mostly is around sa education since I'm also a music production student ngayon. Ano po tips niyo for like studying abroad for continuous education, whether in masterals or undergraduate? Like, mahirap po ba mag-apply or ano po yung tips niyo for application or like may other po bang opportunities na magagamit niyo po yung music background niyo or like sa engineering background towards other specializations like kunwari, I heard na you can jump from production to acoustical engineering sa more physics side. So ano po mga tips niyo around sa education po?
So, ask yourself muna kung anong goal mo. Because many times, baka yung goal mo, choosing to take the academic route might distract from it. Parang answer your why first. And more, there are a lot of opportunities that are available without having to go abroad and spend millions of pesos on a degree. So there's a lot of it really boils down to you kung anong gusto mo. And the fact of the matter is, production does not lead to acoustic engineering. Acoustic engineering, it's something you can achieve by taking electrical engineering classes or physics. That actually aligns more than the production side. So it's more about even writing down, asking yourself, what do you want to do? When I went to school, it was much different than it is now. And for example, kahit sa program ko, yung Berklee College of Music, may bago na silang program called, so nung time ko, merong music production and engineering. And sobra siyang parang hard to get in, and you only have access to like the large format consoles, and the goal is to work in like a commercial recording studio, Chenes. Pero the new major, independent recording and production sa Berkeley, is to answer the demand for a more self-sufficient production workflow where you get to do everything. And Berkeley is adapting to the times. And you might want to explore why Berkeley is adapting, because they're recognizing that the world is having different demands. That's not necessarily music production and engineering. So there are a lot of opportunities where you don't need to burn money into a program that you might need. I'm not saying not take that route. If you do take it, always have a why, and that you know that you're doing it for that reason. So, and ang daming programs na dito sa Asia, like SAE sa Singapore, Mint. Are you taking music production, di ba?
Yeah, I'm taga Benilde po.
Yes, I have a workshop on Wednesday. Oo, so. Oh, go. Sabihin mo si Ma'am
Lahat
Haji.
yung biglang nandun.
Pero yeah, don't feel that you're lacking kasi parang hindi music school sa abroad. That even the music schools abroad are having to adapt to get students. So, just saying.
Thank you po.
Nice. All right. Ito naman tayo.
Good afternoon po, Miss Trina and Miss Jett. Thank you po dun sa binigay niyo pong talk kanina. We learned a lot po. Curious lang po ako, kamusta po yung pagiging student sa States? Gaano po kahirap? Sorry. Kumusta po yung pagiging student sa States? Gaano po kahirap yung journey doon? Ano po yung pros and cons studying abroad, and kung may tips po kayo, much appreciated po. Thank you po.
Like what I mentioned earlier, I think it's important to have a soul-searching process to make sure that this is what you want to do. Kasi I think even just to be perfectly blunt, I'm still paying off my student loans. Kahit nag-graduate ako 10 years ago. Just letting you know.
Oh my God.
Oo.
Ganun pala yun.
Oo. So it has to be a conscious decision. And I think the biggest challenge besides the finance part is the immigration part. And I know it's going to be its own class. If we want to have a talk about that, I know our immigration lawyer. Kami ni Mami, may pareho pala kaming immigration lawyer without knowing.
Oh, talaga?
Oo. Attorney Pia Di Quianco. Pero it's the immigration part. And a lot of students think that they need to get H-1B visa. But if you're an artist, look into O1.
And immigration laws change also, I think. Well,
yeah, the immigration laws are changing, and I'm scared about the next couple of months.
Depende kung sino manalo, di ba?
Oo. So while you're still here, and while you're exploring student visas, if you ever plan on like exploring working abroad, look up O1. But again, I'm just
O1 is ano na nga?
The aliens of extraordinary abilities.
Right.
It makes you more flexible, and hindi ka tali sa isang boss. But I'm still paying off my student loans, pero I have zero regrets, and I've been very grateful. And I think, to be honest, like I feel lucky kasi I know of many other amazing, talented, deserving people who have struggled. So it comes with a lot of risks, and it's mostly financial and in immigration. So, but if you have any questions later, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you po.
Next. I love how they're all sitting para sa parang ducklings.
Hi. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and this information in this talk. Been very informative. I'm Sophie, producer, mix engineer. My question for you is, how has being a woman in a largely male-dominated field shaped your struggle and experience?
Thanks for asking. And I think that's very important. Ergo, hashtag women in the mix. Pero I really felt that. I'm jealous of like my other colleagues where they didn't feel the difference. Pero for me personally, I really felt the difference, the fact that I was a woman, and I still am. Pero the
Let's just make that clear.
just making it clear. Pero I really felt it. There were times where I almost didn't get gigs because they found out at the last minute that Jett Galindo was a girl.
Pangalan mo pa naman Jett, di ba? So,
Oo,
akala nila lalaki.
oo. So, akala talaga nila lalaki na nalaman nilang babae pala si Jett.
Wow,
So,
so nadaanan mo pala yung
oh
gano'n.
yeah. And I mean, someone has told me during sessions na gusto niya sana na nag-annul na sila ng wife niya. Yung parang mga ganong...
Ha?
Oo.
To mean what?
Oh, ewan ko sa kanya. Parang usahan.
Alright.
Oo, parang hint-hint.
My gosh, yeah.
Oo, pero ang mahalaga, I think, and I don't know how deep you are into your program or your studies, pero what really got me going is the fact na I started to discover so many communities and support groups of like-minded women. And they're even my good friends to this day, even when I started, even back in school, even like Jackie Boom, who's been my confidant and my friend throughout my career. And hopefully your peers, you'll find those who will continue to grow with you. Pero I highly recommend checking out Sound Girls. I'm not sure if you're on Facebook, but if you're on Facebook, look up Sound Girls Private. It's a Facebook group. It says private, but it's actually over 50,000 members. And it's a parang no judgment. People ask any questions related to audio, and everyone is very generous. There are people from different fields: live sound, audio forensics, mastering, vinyl cutting, music production, songwriting, and everyone is welcome. Women share their struggles to people who understand it. So Sound Girls. Another one I recommend is Soundtrack Mixers. So the Soundtrack Mixers is created by the vocal producer of Dua Lipa and Cardi B. Her name's Simone Torres, and it's a good friend of mine. You know Simone Torres? So, isa yun sa mga project ko na idalhin siya dito. Pero long-time producer and engineer of Cardi B, Dua Lipa, Billie Porter, amazing woman. Pero yeah, she started Soundtrack Mixers for more networking opportunities between professionals and up-and-comers in film, in mastering, record production, songwriting. So Women's Audio Mission. If you connect with me through socials, I always try to keep putting a spotlight on all the women organizations, because the reality is we need more of us, because there's so much stories and songwriting and storytelling that doesn't get out in the music marketplace because there's not a lot of safe spaces for women to just express themselves. So the more engineers like us, producers, that like make this a safer space for everyone, even just for expressing their stories, benefits everyone. So, yeah.
We'd love to see more women, mixers,
yes.
mastering engineers.
Producers.
Kasi we were talking about it. Ako hindi ako nagmi-mix. Kasama ako dun sa mga hindi ko alam na ano. Pero hanga ako sa mga, kasi nga it's so male-dominated. But I was telling you parang, but it's such detailed work. Eh, di ba mga kababaihan, medyo may micro ano tayo eh. So we might be ideal for that kind. It's just a matter of exposure to that. To
But there are communities. You're not alone. And there are folks out there that are very generous of like supporting fellow women. So,
Right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. In this corner.
Mark Lakay.
Oh, Mark.
AES.
Uy.
Hey.
Hello, hello.
Nice to meet you in person.
Okay, we'd like to, well, first off, thank you for the lecture and giving us the importance of mastering. what's this case in point? I'd like to take your opinion on remastering for multiple releases. The importance of remastering for multiple releases. Case in point, back catalogs. For example, riding on the trend of vinyl releases or film releases or even television releases and just passing them the CD release. Kasi iba yun, di ba? Iba yung spectral analysis and everything. So I'd like to get your opinion on that and to give importance also on remastering for particular platform releases.
Hi,
Physical
Mark.
or digital?
Yeah. Thanks for the question. That question isn't mentioned a lot, but it happens very often in the industry, and I am a firm believer in keeping the fidelity of the original release. And if there's ever any remastering that's done, it's really just to make sure that the original music is best translated and appreciated in other formats. Case in point. Halimbawa, I actually recently did the urban dub. Was it urban dub? Yeah, I think urban dub is finally up on streaming after a long time na their original albums aren't there. And they also decided on like a 20th anniversary vinyl release. And for them, like it was crucial that they did vinyl right. However, the only source that they had was the CD master, nothing else. And I think this is also a lesson for a lot of artists and labels to again archive, save all your high resolution masters. It really there's a virtue to saving it in high resolution kasi the quality of commercial music formats really continues to grow. And sayang lang din, pero at the end of the day, you make do with what you have. And I really appreciate it where Kelly Mangahas, or no, I think it was Alex Lim, manager of Urban Dub. Like they really went out of their way to make sure that at least the vinyl is done right. So there were a couple of like little tweaks. Oh, I did remaster. I did remaster even the Spotify release. And it's funny kasi yung Urban Dub, it was already loud and heavily limited to begin with. And it's a matter of just enhancing it so that the things that were lost in translation because of that heavy limiting just comes out more effectively. So it's really light touches here and there. But that already made enough of a difference that the A&R of Warner Philippines wanted also a proper vinyl remastering for Lola Amor's vinyl and others. Pero yeah, it's really important to understand that every format has different limitations, especially vinyl. So if you can read through the things you can do to your music to accommodate that format better, make that effort. It doesn't take that much cost to make your music fit on certain formats. So I hope that answers your question, Mark. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Rihanna. I'm a singer, writer, producer, arranger, studio assistant. So I clean up the Pro Tools sessions. My question is, being that we're in such a creative industry, and just how just the workflow is. How do you try to avoid burnout or like taking care of yourself? Just making sure you're okay and in the best space to like do your craft and just like serve others. Yeah.
I think that's a good question. And Trina, you can answer that too, because we're both in music. Like it's easy to burn out in a field where we are passionate about this world. So it's easy to get burnt out because we give so much of ourselves. And I feel that a lot even as a mastering engineer. So that's still something I work on. Pero one thing that really helps me is just listening to my body when I feel that I couldn't anymore and learning to say no. I think the art of learning to say no is the number one thing. And it's even a practice to me at this point, practicing boundaries and learning to say no while practicing the quality of your yeses. To as you go further along in your career, it's gonna be at first you're gonna be encouraged to say yes to everything, di ba? Pero eventually, the hard part is to be more selective on where the yeses go and learning to say no more. And even like the fact that I took a break from mastering for 1 month to come here to the Philippines was really a difficult choice, but I haven't been to the Philippines for a while, and I wanted to do a lot of I had plans in the Philippines. So yeah, it's like choosing yourself, consciously choosing yourself, even if it means taking a break from your passion in music. Making sure that you have your weekends if you can. But yeah, listening to your body and choosing yourself. Make sure to know your identity, know who you are outside of music. Like I have a separate Instagram account just so I can follow non-music stuff if I need to shut off. Pero yeah, anything you can do to choose yourself, turn off that work brain, and learn to say no. So I hope that helps.
I've said no to many things. That's why I'm not stressed.
Yay!
I want to be like you.
Even moving.
So tama siya.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
So that's where I am. I'm not stressed because I've said no to many things. But great question. And more women.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
All right. On the side.
Salamat din for this event. So, a little background info lang. I started out playing in bands in my early years, then natuto mag-arrange. Then I took an interest in...
What's your name, sorry?
Willie Villa. I work for Universal Records. So, I think question, are we in a stage where engineer number 1 tells engineer number 2, my products are probably better than yours because I have all these hardware gears behind me. Then engineer number 2 tells engineer number 1, yeah, you're probably right, pero I'm probably smarter than you because I can mix the same project you're gonna do with all this just in a box lang, and I'm smarter than you kasi hindi ako nag-invest ng ganun kalaking halaga for the hardware that na in these days plugins can replicate. So nandito ba tayo sa ganun stage?
So I think the thing that is getting better lately is that there's less comparison. So rather than engineer 1 is comparing against engineer 2, engineer 1's challenge is themselves, and engineer 2 works on improving on themselves. So I think one of the biggest challenges against joy is comparison. And that's also one of the things that is really a practice, especially in LA. In Los Angeles, it's a very competitive field. And especially among women too. Like women, even in many fields where it's like a very male-dominated field where women are pitted against one another. So it's like my sense na parang one is better than the other. Like my setup, because of its like high quality analog gear, is better than your gear. There's a space for every engineer and every style. And it took people who did not care. For example, again, I go back to Billie Eilish and Phineas recording in their bedrooms. Ariana Grande producing her own vocals. And there's even I know that there's one producer who I think it was Cisco. I don't know why I thought of that. Pero he had a phone recording. And he built a sample off of that phone recording. And these people wouldn't have made successful records if they worried about what the other producers or engineers are doing. So I think that's the biggest challenge is that it's easy to look at the other peers and see what they have that we're not lacking, and it's I think it's more apparent for us folks here in the Philippines because we have limited resources compared to those in Korea or the United States. Pero there's something about our songwriting or spirit or world famous karaoke singing talents. I'm just saying we have a lot in us where there's no reason to compare ourselves to others and feel that we're lacking. I hope that answers your question. Salamat.
So I think we have time for only maybe mga 5 minutes pa tayo, no? So maybe
Quick,
a couple more
bara-bara.
questions. 2 more questions. So one here, one here. So the guys at behind, sorry. But yeah, we only have time for one question here and one question
You can
here.
you
But,
can
yeah.
send I'll do my best to answer questions if you email me at jet.galindo@gmail Galindo. Nahawa na sa-
Jet.galindo
at gmail.com or sa Instagram ko Jett Galindo.
Yeah.
And I'll take the time to answer questions that are not covered
Mga hindi
here.
nasagot. Oo. But yeah, so last 2. Let's have over here muna. Sino magtatanong yan?
Hi po. Good afternoon, Miss Trina and Miss Jett. Thank you. Ang ganda ng talk. At saka, yung sample kanina, ang sarap talaga sa tenga pag nakokontrol ng maigi yung trumpets at saka yung parang wow.
Galing ni...
Sobrang sarap sa tenga. Tapos yung tanong ko lang, kasi since medyo mas bago yung mga gear, may mga bagong tech, narinig nyo na po ba yung pag mix and master gamit yung headphones and if may colleagues kang gumagawa nun and what model and brand?
Okay, I do
Good
have
question.
an answer for that. Kasi I always so when we talk about there's really no rules. My example is Glenn Schick. So look him up, GLENN space SCHICK, I think. And he's an amazing award-winning veteran mastering engineer, and he mixes only with headphones. And he mixed the latest, I think, Future album on an airport. And another album, award-winning album sa beach sa Thailand.
Gosh.
He uses Odysseys. I'm not sure if that's how pronounced. Odysseys? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Amazing, very humble guy. He did have the biggest recording mastering facility, vinyl cutting facility in Atlanta, and then he decided, let me sell that. Let me just travel. And he's just maintained his connections with labels, and he just knows the craft too well that despite the limitations, he's just made do with what he had, and yeah, just masters with headphones. So yeah,
Baka lang from a health perspective, baka hindi lang masyadong healthy yung, I would
you know,
imagine.
it helps
Okay lang
na, I think genre specific, it helps him that his work is mostly hip hop. But he does bluegrass too in headphones. So, yeah.
Thank you po.
Oo, you're welcome.
Pwede pala yan. And our final question for this afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. I'm Jay. Thank you for the time. I'm from AES and St. Paul also. My question is, you mentioned earlier that you had a mobile recording rig for recording music. If you could tell us the story of what you were using there, maybe the mics.
Sure.
and
So
stuff.
back in
Then your mastering practices maybe for classical or mostly purely acoustic.
Ako, isang question lang ba to? Okay, but let me start with my mobile rig because I still have a mobile rig today. Back in college, I just knew I still wanted to record choirs and classical ensembles because that's really my background. But it's really a duality. Parang I lived and breathed pop music. Me and my sisters would listen to MTV, watch MTV instead of Cartoon Network. Tapos kami nila daddy, we would just watch music videos of Bangles and Joe and Jett and the Blackhearts. all I'm saying is, I have this world in mastering, but it doesn't take away from the fact that I still love recording classical music. And back then, yung rig ko, parang I invested on a stereo match pair of AKG 414s. I have a stereo pair of two stereo pairs of cheap small diaphragm pencil condensers. I'd have 8-channel snake that's long, so I could easily record a setup from far. I would look up. So at the very beginning, I would pray that the concert hall would have mic stands, but I would eventually find like very mobile mic stands. But it's very simple. I use Pro Tools to record them. Very light touch on the processing for classical music. It's really the venue that really matters. My recording rig has changed a lot since then. Yung baon ko na mobile recording rig, I was supposed to record an amazing choral ensemble this Monday, which is most likely postponed dahil sa bagyo. But I still brought my rig, sayang. But so it's an 11-channel, 1 square meter immersive mic array of just Shure KSM 141 Omni mics. So 11 channels in just one light stand. And I'm still in the process of like learning the immersive recording, but I am really passionate about recording more Philippine ensembles in immersive. And my mobile recording rig is immersive. So yeah, still Pro Tools. But for mastering in my professional full-time work, we use a mastering dock called Sadie. But the fact of the matter is you can still master with your current DAW. Pro Tools, Logic, Ableton, you can master with the tools you have. It's just a difference in application and perspective. But yeah, I have written like over 30 mastering articles on Isotope. Just look up isotope.com, that's Jett Galindo, and there's a lot of like articles on mastering there to help you get started.
All right.
Thank you.
So guys, follow Jett Galindo. She has her Instagram and ano pa ba?
I'm actually active on Threads. Pero
On
I don't
Threads.
use my Threads for work. I just really I say the most random stuff on Threads. So if you want I recently posted about like Zoom call with Grammy as a governor. Pero they were asking bakit may nagtitilaok sa Zoom call? And yeah, that's the stuff I talk about on my thread. So
Right.
yeah, I'm on Threads.
Jett, thank you
Thank
so
you, Gina.
much. This is wonderful.
Thank you so much.
And
Thank you.
we have a little something, a little something for you
diploma.
lang. Meron kaming pa-thank you sa'yo na, para lang mukhang official yung ating ginawa. So we'll call our president, Mr. Nonoy Tan, to present. So ikaw, would you like to read? Kasi hindi ko rin mabasa. Okay, certificate of appreciation, because we really appreciate you. Certificate of appreciation. Certificate is awarded to Jett Galindo for your invaluable expertise and dedication as our distinguished resource speaker for the FILSCAP Masterclass on this 20th day of July 2024 in Fisher Mall Cinema 5, Quezon City. Your insights greatly enriched this event, and your willingness to share your knowledge is deeply appreciated.